Hi out there, this is Holly from Homewood Science Center, and we are so excited today to have our brain break. For those of you who are new to our brain breaks, these are wonderful art explorations meant for children in kindergarten through fifth grade, and we're partnered with the Cancer Support Center and their intern, who's an art therapy intern. So we've been doing all sorts of fun activities week after week. And you can find all of our episodes online at homewoodsciencecenter.org. Today, I do want to celebrate Earth Day. We're very excited at Homewood Science Center to offer our pop-up science at home activities on our website. You can go to our website to download the activity to celebrate Earth Day. It's all about the life cycle of a butterfly. Or you can also register to pick up your activity kit at Homewood Science Center today, Wednesday, April 22nd, from 3 to 5 p.m. So happy Earth Day, everybody. And I want to remind everybody to please join us on our Facebook Live page at 1 p.m. on Saturdays for our family yoga with Serendipity Yoga. And last but not least, if you have not completed your census, we ask that you please go online to complete your census. You can also spread awareness about completing the census by joining in our Silly for Census photo contest on Facebook. Tell all of your friends and families that you got counted with a silly photo. So you can get all of those details on our website, homewoodsciencecenter.org. All right, so I am going to turn the microphone over to our lovely Amethyst from the Cancer Support Center to find out what sort of art activity we have today to celebrate Earth Day.
Yes, hello. Let me pull up my screen. Oh, hold on. Clicked this one. What does this do? Okay. So there we go. Can you see my screen?
That looks good. Do you want to pull it up full screen there? Perfect.
Yeah, I've got it full up on mine. Is it loading my
It looks good to me.
Cool. All right. My internet has been being a little slow, but I think now that we're all pulled up, let's get going. So, today for our brain break, our theme is of course Earth Day. So the first thing I want to talk about is when you're making art, going outside and looking at nature is just a great inspiration for art, and there's so much beauty in nature, right? And so take some time to go outside and like enjoy nature and just kind of experience it and see how that experience feels. So like look around and see what nature you have around you. So I live in Chicago, like, in the streets. So there's not a lot of nature, but there's trees and there's some, I've got like a small backyard area with some like grass and flowers, and there's birds and plants. And so, whether or not you have a yard or a garden, you still probably can see a little piece of nature whenever you go outside.
And Amethyst, I love that when our kids go outside to appreciate the nature, they can really be like good scientists and make some observations. So scientists are always observing the things around them, and that's something that science and art have in common, right? So in your slide,
Yeah.
I can see you asking kids, what do you see? What do you hear? What do you smell? What do you feel? Those are all really wonderful senses that scientists use when they're observing as well.
Yeah. So artists and scientists very much rely on their five senses to, do their craft. There's a lot of similarities in that sort of way. And so whenever you're observing something, whether for science or for art, you can utilize, don't just use your eyes. Look, even if you're making a visual art piece, you still want to know how something feels so that you can have a good sense of the texture. It's like if this thing smells nice, maybe there's some way I can put that in the piece and show that. And so being very aware of your senses. Now, obviously, I did not put taste in this one. Please don't put your mouth on anything in nature unless you know, like, for a fact that it's like, oh, this is my blackberry bush that's in my yard. But yeah, you can still utilize a lot of your senses to connect and experience nature and see how it makes you feel, and how it and just experience, like, what something is and really understand, and then think about which parts of nature that you find the most beautiful. And remember that beautiful doesn't just have to be how it looks. Like bird song is beautiful and it's a sound, and the smell of roses is beautiful, but it's a smell. And so really think about expanding and like different ways that there's different ways things can be beautiful in nature. And so I've put a couple of ideas right here. I'm going to show another thing a project that I did that some of you can do at home. But here are just some other examples of things. There's so much that you can do with nature. You can always just go outside and draw and paint from nature. Look at a tree and then try to draw it, try to paint it. Um, People have been doing that for a very long time. And even sitting outside in the natural light, you can get a lot of information from that. You can collect pieces of nature and physically include it in your artwork. Like you can glue it to some paper or tie it to something. Or there's a picture over here of someone using a branch of what looks to be some sort of pine tree as a paintbrush, and seeing like maybe you can use the nature to um, apply different materials and make it work with that. You can also arrange things into fun shapes, like this person who made like flowers and leaves and rocks into a very like nice little shape. Do be careful with when you're moving stuff from nature, though. You don't want to disturb any like sensitive environment. So if there's like a stream and you're like pulling a bunch of rocks from the stream, you might disturb some of the like silt and the dirt, and you might like pick up a rock that maybe like a little like salamander's living under or something. So do be very careful when you're taking things from nature. If you're in a public park or somewhere and you're picking all the flowers, then no one else gets to look at the flowers. So maybe do a piece instead of picking and using the flowers. Maybe you can draw the flowers or cut them out of construction paper and incorporate them that way. And so one thing that I did was by pounding plant pigment. So this is a really fun, a very physical kind of tactile art piece. If you're getting a little fidgety and stir crazy with this is something you can do with your hands. Let's get some energy out. So the first thing that you need for this is some paper, and then some leaves or some flowers. And then you want something sort of heavy and sturdy that you can really smush the plants with. I'm going to show a little video and like a little example on the next slide. But I just used a plastic mug that I had. I've done them before with a wooden mallet. I don't have a wooden mallet in my apartment, so I wasn't able to use that this time. But there's all sorts of stuff. I would suggest something kind of flat. I tried to use a rock, but it was a little too pointy and uneven. So something kind of flat. And this craft, you might want an adult or a guardian nearby to help you, just because it does involve, a little bit of smushing with a heavy object. So you do want to be careful. So you want to collect all of your materials and lay out all of your leaves or your flowers, whatever you have, and lay them out on your paper. And then you cover them with another piece of paper. And then on top of the top sheet, you want to pound it with your object. So I have this video of me using my mug. And see, you want to make sure you keep your fingers out of there. If you find that your sheets are wiggling around, maybe tape it down. You can see I put a piece of cardboard that I'd ripped up underneath my papers just so it wouldn't be like on the damp grass from the dew. But if you're like, oh, my papers are wiggling around, maybe you can use a little bit of tape instead of trying to put your hands down. And and you really want to pound on it for a good little while. So like this video clip is only like 7 seconds, but you might want to spend maybe like 20, 30, lift up the sheet and look and see how it looks, and then keep trying. and you can move the plants around. You can try what different leaves look like. Sometimes I've noticed that if you put the leaves on different sides, you'll get more pigment out. So pigment is the thing that exists in plants that gives them their color. And that's what paints are made of in the real world. Like if you go buy, some paints from the art store, a lot of those colors come from plants. And so this is sort of how you're sort of making your own painting just with plants that you can find in your own yard. And so this is what that final piece looked like. That's the top sheet. And then I did have to run in because it did start to rain. So I, easily could have grabbed a few more things and put them on there, or I could have left it at this. And then this is another piece that I'd made a few days ago like that. And you can really experiment with these plant pigments and see, how when you grind up these plant pigments, what kind of colors come out and what do they look like.
That is very beautiful, Amethyst. And we've actually done this at Pop-Up Science before. So some of you kiddos might have actually done this with Homewood Science Center. We have done bookmarks made out of different flower parts. And another wonderful thing that you can do too with flower parts is press them to dry. Use maybe an old picture frame to press them and make artwork by putting dried plant pieces together in some artwork. And then another really great way to bring a little bit of science into this type of project is to really think about the parts of a plant as you're doing this. So I have a lovely diagram here, and you can Google something like this. But you can see all of the different anatomy of the flower. So you can see the stigma and the ovaries and the petals. So there's so many different parts of the plant besides the petals, right? All right. So do we have anything else for today, Amethyst?
No, I just think I think today is a great day to go outside and just, play around a little bit and do a little science art mashup and really experience the natural world and see what's out there.
Wonderful. So Miss Amethyst, thank you so much for another wonderful brain break. I'm going to ask you to take your slides down for just a second. So that we can go full screen and show off. I did invite everybody today to come and stop by Homewood Science Center or register online for your Pop-Up Science at Home kit. These are the kits that we have for you. So we have a beautiful kit to celebrate the life cycle of a butterfly. And you can see here it has some hands-on stuff that you might have at home. So if you have glue and some fun shaped pastas and a pencil, you can get going with this at home too. But this is a really wonderful way to celebrate Earth Day today with your Pop-Up Science at Home kit. So Amethyst, thanks again for joining us today for Earth Day. What a wonderful activity for kids to go out and do, make some beautiful artwork out of plants and out of nature and spend some time outside. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in today. We will see you next week for another episode of Brain Break.